deep dive interviews with music gear inventors, builders, creators, and tone chasers. The Gear Gab Podcast with Eric Dahl uncovers the behind-the-scenes stories of the music gear that inspires us. And now, here's your host, Eric Dahl.
Welcome to another Gear Gab show. I'm so thrilled to have on a friend of mine that we met years ago in the Rock and Review studio here in Nashville when he brought an artist. He and his wife brought an artist in, Mike Dawes, who you might have heard of, kind of a popular guitarist. I've got Ofer Webman on the show. Ofer, thank you for joining us.
Nice to be here. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you. It's been far too long. I think you're gonna have to come back to Nashville and visit again in person. But you and I and your wife Helene always stay in contact. And I want to give our listeners and our viewers a little bit of background about you, to where you worked in studios, were a musician and a guitarist for years back in Israel before you moved to the United States, right?
Correct. But my studio background is a little bit different. I came from the world of audio post-production for movies and videos. So I rarely recorded any artist. The only artist that I tried to record when I had time was myself. So I did soundtracks for movies, and I did all the Foleys and the voiceovers and all this stuff. So I came from a different background as a sound studio, but I had the sound studio in my blood. Yeah.
Well, and what I found so interesting, because, and once again, I've known you and your wife for a long time, since you started this company. And I think it's going to be fun for our listeners and viewers for the show, Ofer, to be able to understand, the transition, the 13 years, how the concept for ToneWood amps and now, thanks to, your company and both of you, it's almost a commonplace phrase now. I had an artist in a month or so ago, Ben Gallagher, and the first thing he does, he goes, "Yeah, I'm playing ToneWoodAmp2." And I'm like going, "Do you know them?" I'm like going, "Yeah, I do know them." And it's so now it's become a commonplace because, the company has sold, over 150,000 of these units for acoustic guitars. But I want to take our listeners and viewers back a little bit, Ofer, with the beginning of the company was not quite as auspicious as it is now. Back in 2013, when you and Helene were like going, "Hey, the housing market hasn't done so well. We need to do something." And you being an inventor and also wanting to create something for acoustic guitar, started working in your garage.
Right. Yeah. We lost 2 houses during the housing crisis. We lost 2 houses. We lost most of our savings because of that. And we were broke, completely broke. And we were also fed up with what we did before. When I came to the States, I wasn't really in the music studio. I was still involved with audio, but with some other things. And brought me more to the world of, web mastering and stuff like that. Nothing that I really live and breathe, but I had to make a living. And I was fed up from that. Money was very short. And the only thing that I could do, I said, I need to enrich my life a little bit again. So I'm picking my guitar again. And I started taking lessons again. And that's bring back the light, and then the idea of the ToneWoodAmp came up. It came up from something that I'm sitting and suddenly I have an idea. Hey, there is that thing that can do that. And there is the guitar. Can I recreate the things that I really miss in the guitar, which is I don't get effects from acoustic guitars. I need to connect to an amplifier.
And I got to bring that up to where, you were pushed into this idea also because, as you and I know, electric guitarists have had access to effects for decades, for years and years. I mean, back to, the 60s when they started creating the first fuzz pedals and all the wah-wah pedals and all that. But then the catalyst for you, Ofer, was because as an acoustic guitarist, there was nothing.
Exactly.
There was nothing at that time to augment your sound with delay, with reverb, with chorus.
Exactly.
anything.
And that was the frustration. That was the frustration. And this is where I guess the inventor mind is coming to, light up. And I started to create weird combination of equipments that I had to cannibalize and connect stuff and do some tests. And nobody heard what I heard because actually nobody could hear. But the idea was there. And it took time until I built myself some sorts of a prototype that looks like more like a bomb, which I have here. Would you like me to show it?
Yeah, we would love to see it because
I do have it.
prepped. And it's like whenever I saw that, parts of it were from Home Depot and it involved a sponge and duct tape, it sounds like something my father would have built.
That's what it is.
Oh my gosh.
That's what it is. And it is sponge. The main reason that I use the sponge is because I couldn't find a box that will house correctly what I put inside. So I said that sponge I can carve in exactly the spaces, and then I put all this electrician tape around, and that worked. And I went to Guitar Center near home, and I made some friends there, and asked them, "What do you think about it?" Went to their home, did a demo, took a videos, and collected some customers' interviews, and they loved it. So I said, "Okay, I'm on something. I am on something." Yeah. And that was our first. That was the incentive to go after this. We didn't have a penny. I don't want to. How much money we
And
have?
also, because I had never seen that original one over to where to me, it's like the size of like a Radio Shack reverb box, like you used to get back in the day. Radio Shack was, thriving. And it's like, that's a pretty, I mean, what is that by like 5 inches by 6 inches? What about 2 or 3 inches thick?
That.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty
Oh yeah.
sized wood. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's not something that fits on the back of an acoustic guitar easily.
No. And if you see all those little blue things, this is kind of adhesive. This is kind of stuff that you don't want to put on an acoustic guitar. I use lots of things at the beginning that you don't want to put on an acoustic guitar.
But also that's part of the inventor learning,
Exactly.
to what, and you and I were talking about this before we started doing the interview when we first met in the Rock and Review studio. But it's like, when I would talk with you, when I was learning to work your first one that you came out with back in 2015, it's like it was you had to learn how to operate it and to change the parameters and save them. But it's like,
Right.
but I want to go back. I mean, so after you came out with the first, with this large device, and obviously, Ofer, it worked. You were able to make your sounds, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. This one worked. Yeah.
And the
Not always on a guitar, but worked.
but to explain it too, because I know when I was discussing it with people when you first came out with it with the ToneWoodAmp, is that even your first incarnation of it, the idea was to use the inside of the acoustic guitar as the sound box, so that then when you played the acoustic guitar like you and I typically do, that then the sound would come out of the hole with the effects, or you could run it off to a amplifier or PA and it would have the effects too, right?
Correct. That's the whole concept. It's basically using the acoustic body of the guitar as your amplifier for your effects. So the ToneWood amp is not an amplification devices per se. It's not making your guitar much louder, but suddenly your organic acoustic guitar, that Martin that you spend so much money on it, suddenly has its own natural reverb, and you don't need to connect it to an amplifier, and suddenly you don't really hear your Martin. You maybe hear that kind of a pickup or that kind of a preamp. It's completely different experience. Yeah.
Well, and I was going to bring up that after you came up with the original, then you and Helene decided to do the to where you got the funding, right?
Yes, Kickstarter. We went on
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter. Yeah, first Kickstarter. We had to.
And that's how you got the funding to make it. And then what I found so interesting was that, when you came to the first NAMM show, I believe in Nashville, and you had your device and you got Larry Mitchell to go into a whisper booth and try it out. What happened then?
So first, we didn't have our final device. We had two devices. We had this guy, which also looks quite ugly, but this one already after we were, we found our electronic engineer. We knew what we want because we had my code prototype and we built that thing. And the idea was to go to Nashville to NAMM first time and demonstrate that thing. And I don't know if I need to tell you what it took until we succeeded to bring Larry to the whisper room. But when Larry came to the whisper room, it was the first time that I saw somebody that didn't know how to describe it. The experience was for him and for me to listen to Larry was a jaw dropping. But, and I remember we went out of the whisper room. We came out of the whisper room and he's speaking to people about it. And he said, you need to try it. I don't know how to describe it. That was basically his words. Yeah.
Well, and it also goes back to you to where, I read a statement, from an article or something that you had done in the past on Ofer to where you were trying to create Carnegie Hall sounds for acoustic
Yeah.
guitarists.
Exactly. And that's the experience that you get. So we're sitting in the very small whisper rooms and people that never had this experience sitting there and start to look up and down, where are the speakers? Because they hear reverb and they don't know what is going on. I have ton of videos you can find on YouTube, ton of videos, especially from the old days of people, how they react to the ToneWoodAmp. It's completely new experience. Now it's a little bit more accepted. People already got used to it, but then it was completely jaw-dropping.
So I got to ask you this question because we were talking before we started the show today that you also have like dummy or fake ToneWood amps that you had. Why did you have those? Just to show what it would look like on a guitar?
Yeah, so here's the story. So we knew that we're coming to NAMM. We came with this guy, and probably, let me see if I have here another. Yeah, it was a little bit nicer because we put a cover that looks a little bit better, right?
With the look.
But obviously it's big, it's very heavy, and we know that this is not going to be the product. Not that we know what the product's going to look like, but we know. So I wanted to present a vision. So I took a small hard drive that I have at home and I empty it. And I got some knobs, knobs for devices, and I created this. It's just This is just a plastic box with no turning knobs,
Right.
but we put it in a glass box with a black hand holding it as the future of ToneWoodAmp.
I remember that.
But that was a fake one.
Yeah, but also, to me, the fake one that you created, it almost looks like a direct box that we use for an acoustic guitar or, to go around the system, to help with the tonality.
That's true. Yeah.
But it's much smaller than your original large creation.
True. And it's actually smaller in comparison to our first official unit.
Right.
Because, yeah.
Well, I got to ask you and also, Ofer, before we go forward on this, how did you come up with the idea to have the magnetic bracket inside of the acoustic guitar's body to then secure the ToneWoodAmp tonal device on the back? How did you come up with that?
I need to be honest with you. I didn't come up with that. It's one of our Kickstarter backers came up with that. We actually came with a different idea. I'm embarrassed to say that, but it was a terrible idea. It was an idea that might destroy many guitars, but we knew we were going to figure it out, right? And I succeeded to destroy one guitar with my previous idea. And somebody asked, why won't you use magnets? And I said, oh, that's a very good question. So we started playing with magnets, and then we had to go into a magnet research, and we had to find what kind of magnets, what size of the magnets, and how we're going to put those magnets inside. And at the beginning, I just positioned 4 magnets inside, and I might be able to show you here the express inside if we need to. But we found out that when we put magnets inside the guitar, after a few hours, they get attracted to each other and they don't stay in place. They just get magnetized to each other. And that's why we had to create that X that has a magnet on each point. So they will never get attracted to each other.
It seems so smart because I know on the first version of the ToneWood amp, when when I saw Mike Dawes, and obviously out on tour around the world with it, but also when I was using one to cover it for the magazines I was writing for at that time, it seemed so brilliant to me because then I would have to explain it to people when I had it at my office. And just the same thing you said, Ofer, to where, it's one thing if you've got a $500 acoustic guitar, it's like, but if you've got $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 acoustic guitar, you and I do. No one wants to damage, the interior or exterior finish on an instrument like that because you paid a lot of money and you want to protect it.
Correct. Correct. And that's basically the results of what we have right now because we are not using any adhesive. And the material that basically is between the ToneWood amp and the guitar itself is actually some sorts of microscopic suction cup layer that attach there, which is a combination of the magnets on the other side inside the guitar and those microscopic suction cups together. And then it attached very tightly to the guitar itself. And you can remove it anytime you want. Doesn't leave any residue. And you can move it from one guitar to the next. So if you have one ToneWood amp and you're a collector of 40 acoustic guitars, you just need to have in each guitar that X brace and you can move the ToneWood amp from one guitar to the next. And each one will sound a little bit different because the ToneWood properties, hence why we call it ToneWood amp. The ToneWood properties of that guitar, the way the guitar was built, all the stuff will sound completely different with the same ToneWood amp because the guitar sounds different.
Well, and also like you and I were talking over to where, as we know, also the bracing inside the guitars and the body shape. You have so many different body shapes, whether it be parlor, dreadnought, OM, jumbo. And so each body shape of the acoustic guitar also affects the tone of the ToneWood amp also, right?
100%. 100%. That's why with one ToneWood amp, you will get 40 different kind of tones if you have 40 different kinds of guitars. Yeah.
Well, and I've got to bring this up too. So when you got the Kickstarter and everything going, and you had started this process in your garage in Phoenix, Arizona, with you going out and tinkering and building this with Home Depot parts and all this stuff, and then you were able to get the Kickstarter funding for the ToneWood amp. And then how did the progression go to make the great first device that you came out with in 2015?
That was actually quite fast because we knew already who we're going to work with. We had the team. And we were dedicated, of course, 24/7 for that. And surprisingly, especially when I'm looking now today on the ToneWoodAmp2, that took much more time, which you will think if we did the first one, we do the second one faster, but we didn't. So that went very fast. And it was long time ago, but I can tell you that it took us a year from no product to product. We did almost any mistake in a book. There's no mistake that we didn't do. We had almost any possible disaster that you can imagine, and we still succeeded to finish it in a year.
Well,
So
also, you and I know too, and some of our listeners or viewers for the show may not realize this, but when you take a device to the NAMM show, just like you did, and people see it and they hear it and they want it, and music stores want it. And then the hard thing is for certainly a startup company like ToneWoodAmp is then how fast, I mean, because usually the typical turnaround, when you say is 3 to 6 months, they want the product. So you and Helene were probably already taking orders for the ToneWood amplifiers, but you were a year out.
no, we actually didn't take orders from stores yet. Stores didn't know how to digest us. And we were at a very early stage too. We didn't get any orders from stores. That took another year at least, if not two, when we start to get the store orders. We had to prove ourselves in the market. But we didn't stop selling. After the Kickstarter, immediately we had a new shopping cart and we continue promoting it on Facebook nonstop. And what we did, we continue promoting it with the price that we had on Kickstarter, but every month we raise it by $10. If we knew how low the price was then, maybe we'll make a little bit more money, but we didn't know. But that helped us to raise, I believe, another $120,000 during the year that we are developing. Because to be honest, the first 120,000, that wouldn't cut it. But the continuation really helped us to do it. And only after, we were already in the market and we start to get the positive reviews, and those things brought us to the point that when we appeared again in NAM, that was the winter NAM in California. And then when dealers came to us, then we start to get the orders. Yeah.
And I remember coming to your booth at that point at Winter NAM when you're taking the orders and everything then. But I've got to ask the question also then, how did you get artists to come on board? Because, the hardest thing for me, even when, you and Helene sent me a ToneWood amp and I put it on multiple guitars and I would show people, the hardest thing at that time was always explaining it, was going, okay, yeah, it's an acoustic guitar, but you put the ToneWood amp on the back of it, you plug it in, the pickup system runs through the ToneWood amp, you run your cable out of that little device on the back to your guitar amp, PA, whatever, and you have all these sound effects, which it kind of sounds like magic.
We didn't know how to explain it. But no, we didn't. We struggled at this for a year. It was impossible to explain it to people if we couldn't demo it. And it was a struggle. But we have a secret weapon. You ask how we got all those artists. The secret weapon is Helene. Because here's a statement that I'm going to make. If there will be no Helene, there will be only me enjoying the ToneWood amp. I'm not that type that stand in aisle in NAM and approach people the way she is. She is the person that bring the people. She is the person that can talk them to go with that weird device to a whisper room. And this is how Larry and so many other people came about. And we did it very organically. We used Facebook. That was kind of early time for Facebook. So thanks God, Facebook didn't cost so much like it costs today. So we took advantage of that too. And with social media, with the fact that we were very easy with artists, just take the device, try it, tell us what do you think about it. That gave us many viral videos. And yeah, she's a magician when it's come to how to bring people. She is.
I remember the first time I met her and the first time she started reaching out to me for magazine coverage and everything. And as you and I both know, she is very persuasive. And it's like, and you don't want to say no to her when she goes, well, would you like to cover this for the magazines? Let me explain it. Let me send the video demos and all this, because it's interesting to me. And certainly looking at your website and having some of your artists on the Rock and Review TV show as well, to where, to me, Ofer, that was one of the turning points, because the artists who use your ToneWood amp products are like the evangelists. And they are actually
very correct
up on the stage, out in public. They are, and once again, knowing it's a small family-owned business, as you have, they enjoy trumpeting how great your product is.
Yes. Yeah. And just to add a little icing on the cake, just for you to know that this coming weekend we're going to see Pat Metheny. So now it's not me doing it; it's her. So,
but I think all great relationships and all great partnerships, each person brings something to the table, and you as the inventor, and then Helene as being the person that is able to get the great artist on. I mean, just list off, for our people that are joining the show, Ofer, just a few of the artists that are currently part of your roster.
Well, Mike Dawes, Andy McKee. We have quite a number of people that we in Nashville, right? We're talking to Nashville people a lot right now. Ben Gallagher, you just mentioned, I believe.
Monster
Uh,
guitar player. He loves
it-
it.
it's actually going to be, I think, on Kelly Clarkson TV, if I'm not mistaken, very soon or this weekend or something like that. Um, Steve Mandel from Six Wire, Billy Dawson, which is a songwriter, Parker Hastings. I don't know if you know Parker, but
Definitely.
it's just amazing, and so many others that I can't remember right now. And you know, let's see what I'm forgetting. Oh, I tell you what I'm forgetting. By the way, if people wants to see us, we're going to be on the Chat Atkins show this year, on
Oh, wow.
which is in July. So yeah, if people want to see us there, yeah.
Right. Well, and I want to bring up too, as you started, because you started out with one artist essentially, Grammy Award winning musician Larry Mitchell that you started out with, and then the evolution now of the other artists that, use and play and tour with the ToneWood amp. But then you had a long period there. I want to bring up also, Ofer, if you could, give us a little more insight into during the pandemic years, you and Helene did something very unique with ToneWood amps that other companies didn't do, and you did this through Facebook, right?
Yeah, we basically created virtual events where in each time we had an artist come and play for us under our Facebook page, and of course on their channels. And during that time when they promoted the ToneWood amp, we gave part of the profit to those artists. So basically, we supported artists during the pandemic. Yeah.
Incredible is that, because, as you and I know, the pandemic, I mean, was so hard on so many people, and we lost so many people as well. But also for, music artists not being able to tour and play their shows, sell merch, do any of this stuff. It was a very dark time for a lot of musicians.
Yeah, it was. It was called, I believe, Live with Our Artists, if I remember
I think that's
correctly.
right. I think that's what I remember.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, then I've got to ask that question. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ofer.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was going to ask the question then with the new ToneWoodAmp2, TWA2, how did that evolution happen from the original model? I mean, how do you refer to the first version? Just version 1?
Yeah, we decided we decided to call it ToneWoodAmp2 because we tried almost any other name on earth and nothing really clicked. And we end up with ToneWoodAmp2. The first one was renamed a little bit later on as the ToneWoodAmp Solo. And again, like I said, we try lots of names. But what's really happened, the ToneWoodAmp2 took a long time. Took a long time because we knew that we're going to go to the next product, but we were looking for a direction. We didn't want to do exactly the same product. We want to do something that has something that will differentiate it from different aspects. So we were testing lots of things, and we were testing. A last iteration that we were testing was actually before the pandemic, and I remember we were sitting with Mike. They were performing, I believe, yeah, Mike and Cenk Erdogan. I don't know if you know him.
Yes, I do.
He's an amazing player from Turkey. We're sitting in a restaurant in California. They were in a tour together. I forgot what was the name of that tour. And we are presenting to Mike the last iteration that we have in the thinking. And Mike is giving us some feedback, which we take very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately after that, the pandemic started. So, in one hand, we took what Mike said and we went back to the drawing board. On the other hand, we have the pandemic coming a little bit after that, and that slowed us down big time. But during that time, the product evolved and evolved and evolved until it was released last year.
Well, and it seemed like to me on it also for to where 2025 almost seems like a rebirth or a relaunch to me for ToneWoodAmp2, to where it's a totally updated incarnation. In fact, I've got one to show, on camera here to where, I mean,
Yeah,
how much smaller the device is, and also not utilizing batteries anymore. Now it charges with USB-C on the side. The screen, the buttons and everything are so much easier to utilize. I mean, this is really, this is not just an update to a product. I want to make sure that people know that.
yeah,
Where with the ToneWood Amp 2, I mean, this is a total evolution of the product.
that's right. And there is the app.
Right.
There is the app that makes the management of the device so different, and the capabilities are so different. It's completely different animal, 100%. Yeah,
To be able to
yeah,
dial in your tonality and sound from your smartphone or a, tablet or whatever is just incredible because you have the device, secured. And we were talking about the magnets, here, there you go, where it fits inside your sound hole. And to be able to do that with your phone. So essentially as a performer, as you and I know, where you can have it on your mic stand even, and you can be dialing in and changing out your effects, your EQ, whatever you want to do, and it's
exactly,
controlling the ToneWood Amp 2, correct?
exactly. It's this the new ToneWood amp is not only a multi-effect processor that you use off stage. It's also a multi-effect processor that you can use on stage with a preamp functionality. So we have a 4-band parametric EQ. We have 2 layers of compression. We have so many things. We have something that we call the feedback assassin that help you to counter feedbacks on stage or off stage, whatever you have it. And there's so many other tools with the Newton with AMP. So it's more tools, more capabilities in a much smaller package, and you don't need to change your batteries. There's another thing with the Newton with AMP. If you have a curved back guitar, you can take actually that area
Ah,
and you can change the angle of.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that. You've taught me something new. Basically sliding that on the back of the device, which, you've got the little
Right.
micro feet and everything. So that'll work great, such as for a
You're basically pulling it that way up,
right.
and then you decide there are grooves here, and you decide which direction you want to go. Exactly.
I learned something new. And that
Yeah.
that's all so especially for guitars such as Guild, which Guild frequently has, the arch back.
Gail, did Taylor have an ouch back 30 times? Yeah.
Right. Taylor's also wow. And that's incredible. I was going to show also to where the ToneWood amp comes with a short 1/4 inch to 1/4 inch cable that then you take it from your pickup from your guitar, plug it in, and then you take the right there, and then you take the output to the
Maybe I show a picture for people what it looks like when it's on a guitar. So that's basically.
it is so low profile now because
Oh yeah.
it's like, I would say essentially Ofer, it's like what, an inch thick by like 4.5, 5 inches long.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you
And then also I gotta, the other thing I like that you did with the ToneWood Amp 2 is that it comes with a very nifty little bag now to where if you are removing it and putting it in your gig bag or case,
it's protected.
it's
Yeah.
protected.
It's protected. Yeah.
But I mean,
Yep.
what an evolution of the product. With the screen to take you back to the home, page up and down, you've got the mute. It's in the editing, it's just the new one, the new ToneWood Amp 2 is so much more intuitive to where you don't even hardly need the manual. The first one, it took some learning curve for me.
Yeah. And the app helps a lot. And, just an anecdote about the screen. I think we are I mean, it's a ToneWood amp, it's a different product, but we had a question with the first ToneWood amp, what are left-handed people going to do, right? Because the screen, this is, by the way, one of the first 3D prints of
Oh,
the
wow.
old ToneWood amp. And the screen was sitting here, and the idea is that it's facing up, and you look at it.
Mhm.
What a left-handed person going to do?
Right.
So we created, the whole electronic was built in a way that we could, on the other side, take this piece out and create left-handed units and put the screen here. So the circuit board was basically designed to allow us to put a screen or here or here. Now with that's the ToneWood amp, with the
And two, on the new ToneWood amp, so this part right here, is that what actually, you've got the round circular piece on the back of the ToneWoodAmp2.
Yeah.
Is that what is helping bring the sound through the guitar?
That's basically the magic. It's that little rubbery thing. That's basically the magic. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's what's transmitting then, because it's obviously moves and everything on the back of the guitar.
Yeah.
And that,
The way to think about it is that this is acting like a speaker driver,
okay.
and the back of the guitar become the speaker cone. That's basically the simple idea behind the ToneWood amp. So we are vibrating the back of the guitar with the effects, while the player is vibrating the top of the guitar with the strings. And this is where you get the mix of effects and guitar and natural guitar sound together.
It's amazing, and what really surprised me, and with the ToneWood amp, the first version and with the second one, Ofer, to where it felt like there was no delay. And how were you able to achieve that? Because, you and I both know from early guitar synthesizer devices, back through the 80s and 90s even, the thing that always drove me crazy was the delay, to where you would strum or pick, and then you would almost have to wait, and so it's hard to stick in time. But with the ToneWood amplifiers, you've got to wait, there's no delay.
No, I mean, it's not wireless or anything, and it's connect directly, and you can control your delay time actually in terms of pre-delays and stuff like that. So you can have, if you want to add some pre-delay, you can, and if you don't want, you just take it down. So it sounds completely natural, like it's really coming from the body of the guitar. Yeah.
Well, and especially when you have, once again, high-end musicians like you have on your roster using the ToneWood amp. What has been the feedback on the ToneWoodAmp2? Because I know how popular the first incarnation was. What is everybody saying now about the new version?
I think people love it, and they love the app. They love the way that you can manage, because as much as I believe that the first ToneWood amp was straightforward to operate, I guess I was.
Oh, I think you locked up for a minute.
A little bit.
Oh, there you are. You're back now, Ofer. Okay, it froze for a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, you thought it was easy to operate, was where you...
I still think, but not too many people think like me. But with the app, it's a huge difference. And to be honest, there's much more with the new ToneWood amp than the old one. So actually operate it with the knobs require more know-how, more getting into the manual, because there's lots of under the hood. With the app, everything is much more possible. It's really easy to manage. And you have also the ability to save presets of effects, and you can save presets of guitar profile. And we just added recently to the app a tuner, which you didn't have with the old ToneWood amp. And we are adding more stuff, which I can't wait, and I can tell you what it is. The app is gonna have, the app is gonna have this year lots of surprises, lots of new tools that will make the creative experience with the ToneWood amp even more exciting. Yeah.
And I've got to ask you this then, Ofer. And so obviously with the hardware, as we know, with the ToneWoodAmp2 hardware that connects to the back of your guitar with the magnets on your acoustic. But then to me, it sounds like where you're putting a lot of effort now is more into the software in the app So then you're expanding the capabilities of it through the app, because I didn't even know you could save the presets.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean the app is so essential here, and because it's an app, I mean, we think about so many things that we wouldn't be able to do if it will be just the device.
Mm.
Thinking from the app perspective suddenly gave us the ability to do things that we couldn't do before. So the app is very central, and I think it will be even more central. And if you already have the ToneWood amp, you're going to get it. So you don't need to buy a new device. Yeah.
See, and that's incredible though, because then you'll essentially let users of ToneWoodAmp know that you need to update the app to get the latest stuff. Do you give like a push alert? I mean, how do musicians find out about it?
Number one, we always keep our users updated by email and by social media. And I believe all the Play stores telling you when there is something new, right? And there is a feature of push notification with the app. So yeah, all of those things together. Yeah.
I was going to bring up the tuner thing because I thought, it would be so handy if it had, because I mean, once again, as a musician, you're a guitar player as well, to where you're always looking for a tuner, and so to be able to have that built in already in your ToneWood amp, that's another great feature.
Right, right. And there will be more things.
What that you can't even tell us that are coming in the future. So I've got to ask you this, Ofer. Where do you see ToneWoodAmp2 going in the future? I mean, certainly you've already sold 150,000 ToneWood amps, and it's really a community of musicians. And like I mentioned earlier in the show,
I'm not confirming and I'm not denying, by the way.
exactly. Again, we will not hold you to this. But it seems like it's really a community of musicians. And I think you mentioned it earlier on something you said about, taking the feedback from Mike Dawes and from other musicians. And even from me, I know Fellini reached out to me after I'd been playing one for a long time and said, "Hey, what are your thoughts? What's great about it? What could be made better? What is your view for like the next 5 years with it, with ToneWoodAmp?"
Well, I think that right now we're in a point of time that we are looking for expanding our line of products. So it's very vague what I'm saying, but we want to make things that going to be related to the ToneWood amp, but I don't think that we are going to focus on just on the next generation of the ToneWood amp, right? It's going to be next generation will be there, but there are going to be other things that will make the ToneWoodAmp family of product much wider. That's the way we think about it.
And it seems to me like one of the best applications, and certainly as a community that you've already created with ToneWood amps, to be able to share profiles, share sounds, share effects tweakings, and also, making the ability to record and loop and things like that easier, to where, I think that's where things are going so much more with
I agree.
to where people want to be able to do that, to where, if you have a friend that's in Phoenix and I'm in Nashville and we want to play together, what does that look like with your ToneWood amp, and how can you exchange ideas and sounds between that?
Are you a mind reader?
Oh no, I'm just a little media person who has a guitar addiction, Ofer, as you know. But it's like, using your product, once again, playing it, getting to know it, the first incarnation and the ToneWoodAmp2. I think what it does to me, and I know what it does to other musicians I talk with that play, it inspires you because,
Yes.
just from
Here
your
is the key word, by the way. That's the key word, inspiration.
the inspiration that it brings, because it goes back to your original idea back in 2013, to where acoustic guitarists never had the capability to have sound effects unless, you had to run it through a whole pedal board and all that. And those pedals were always designed for electric guitars and not for acoustic guitars.
Right.
And there was nothing really, and I can tell you with myself, at this time, I play a lot more acoustic guitar than I do electric. But also you want, whether you're playing a songwriter round or you're playing at a charity deal or a jam session, Ofer, you want to have your effects. And especially when you're sitting around the house and you're playing your guitar with this.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'll tell you, one of the most brilliant ideas I think that you added was the USB-C charger.
Yeah, I know. The batteries used to be a very sore point. Yeah.
Because there's always a little bit of a challenge, to get the batteries in and out and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, the evolution is just so much more, it's just sleek. I mean, that's a good looking
Thank you.
product right there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everything about it looks quality. And, and I'm sure the greatest thing about it with having, musicians playing the ToneWoodAmp2, what's the feedback been though? I mean, what are you getting online and on Facebook and on your website? What are you hearing about this?
People just love it. They love it. I mean, we have users that used to have the previous ToneWoodAmp, which is great, and they migrated to the new one and they love it. So they are not regretting to go to the next one. And new users, again, loving it. So look, you said the main keywords, which is inspiration. Picking up your acoustic guitar and playing and loving your acoustic guitar and playing whatever you used to, or looking for ideas. I'm composing lots of music. Nobody knows about it, but I'm composing a lot. And my compositions are so affected and assisted by the ToneWoodAmp because everything that I'm playing has context. I'm not, there is, I mean, you're familiar with taking your acoustic guitar and go to a church or a cave. What's happened there? It just bring ideas, it's bring inspiration. Mike Dawes, his album Era, was composed, not recorded, composed with the ToneWoodAmp all the time used because that gave him the context for whatever, I guess, he wanted to express. It's a great inspiration tool. It's a great writing tool. You don't write with it, but you get inspired by it. And I think that's really the main point of this device.
And also to me, one of the great points you brought up earlier as well, Ofer, to where with the magnet device, with the X magnet inside of your acoustic guitar, that you can choose it between multiple guitars. And to me, that's what is the win, because, I own a couple guitars, is that I'm not only stuck with one guitar that I can use it in. I can utilize, using the magnet inside of the body of the guitar and then using the ToneWoodAmp2 on the back of it, then use it with my Guild 12 string or my Martin D18 or my Clawmaster nylon string.
Exactly.
All three,
sounds great, by the way, on nylon strings.
Right, exactly. Because I mean, I think nylon string, they especially lend themselves to the reverb.
Yes. Yeah.
It really warms them up. Well, I want to make a quick mention too for our sponsor, Acoustic Coffee. If you are a coffee drinker like myself and Ofer, use the code Gear Gab and you get 20% off your first order of Acoustic Coffee Company. Go to the website, enjoy the coffee. But back talking with the ToneWoodAmp2, Ofer.
Let me say something.
Please.
We also work with those coffee guys, and it's a great coffee.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, because I remember on the website the other day, I was scanning down and I saw there was the ToneWoodAmp2 down at the bottom of the screen.
Yes. Yeah. And the coffee is really good. I mean,
it really is.
The people that work here really loves it. So yeah.
Well, and I wanted to bring up with what is the price point right now for people, that are joining us on the show, Ofer, that want to buy a ToneWoodAmp2 and get on with this. And I know that the app is free, correct?
Right. The app is free.
So what's the cost now, and where can they find it? Where can they go either and check out everything?
The ToneWoodAmp is $310. We also have some bundles. So if you have an acoustic guitar that doesn't have a pickup, you can get a bundle with a pickup. We use the Fishman Neo D, so that the price will be a bit higher. If you have an acoustic guitar, a nylon string guitar that doesn't have a pickup, we sell the ToneWoodAmp with a bundle of pickup for nylon string guitars by Cremona or KN, what they call today. And yes, 310. Now, because you asked me what's going to be the price for the people that watch this, we're going to offer them a discount. You're going to put the link below if that's okay.
Yeah.
And they will get definitely a discount on the 310. You can get it from our store at ToneWoodAmp.com. You can get it from Sweetwater. If you're outside the country, you can get it from Thomann. There are stores in the UK like Undertones, like Guitar Guitar. There are stores in Canada like Faders, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some. I apologize. You can get it on Reverb too. And what else I forgot? Let's see. I believe that's all in terms of where you can get it.
Well, and I also want to make sure that, people joining the show know that the ToneWoodAmp2, you had mentioned it earlier when we were talking, Ofer, to where there's a number of videos. And I can tell you personally, the videos still don't do the product justice. You need to play one. You need to get one in your hands. Put it on your favorite acoustic guitar. It will not damage the finish because it uses magnets to hold it on and play around with it. And like we were talking, I think it's an inspiration, and you and I were talking about the upcoming evolutions with the app and everything. And I know you can't let us know, but I was also thinking as I was testing it out and writing a magazine article on the ToneWoodAmp2, what an intuitive learning tool for young people to be able to do things with the app and with the ToneWoodAmp2 to motivate younger musicians to learn and play the guitar more, because there's so many distractions for young people. And to me, I think playing an instrument has always enriched my life. I always encourage everybody I know, play guitar, play something, play some kind of musical instrument.
Right.
But I hope that some of the upcoming secret things that you can't mention might involve also teaching and learning with the ToneWoodAmp2.
Your mind reading capabilities really concerns me, I must say. That's not possible. But just touching what you just said now, this is another thing that the ToneWood are doing very well when we spoke about inspiration. If you need to practice and you need to learn your scales or chords, and it's frustrating at the beginning and it just sounds bad, with the ToneWood amp, it sounds great. So even that boring practicing is suddenly really, really, really inspiring.
And
Not-
it
not-
opens up, with the different sounds and the different effects over, from the delay, from the reverb, from the chorus, from everything you can achieve. And then within the app to be able to go in and adjust those EQs, to use to have that capability to Bluetooth between the two, your ToneWoodAmp2, and then your cell phone.
That's right.
It really increased the capability of an already great device that you created that came from your mind and your imagination.
Thank you.
Did you have any idea, though, when you started doing this in your garage, that it would become this popular and that so many guitarists and musicians would be raving about this? Did you?
No, I told you. I always thought that I'm going to be the only broke one that will have this device. Yeah.
And look at it now. And to me, and I can tell you from testing both out and from playing them on my guitars, writing about them, talking about them with other musicians, this is the best one. The ToneWoodAmp2 is just next level. And, and this is not, as I think all of my friends and hopefully everyone joining the show, this is not a paid endorsement, nothing. This is just, talking about a product that I think is innovative. And I love where it came from with you and Helene on creating the ToneWoodAmp, the first one. And then it's almost like the Iron Man story, like from the movie, to where it's like the first one looks like, it's like going, I don't know, it's kind of like a garbage can. And then the next thing you know, you've got the ToneWoodAmp2 that's all sleek and fancy. And, and you can put it in the bag and put it on any guitar you want now. It's come a long way.
By the way, here's a little tip. Put it on the back of your guitar when it's in the bag.
I'd never thought of that.
There are some nuances that worth listening to. Try it.
You're just telling me also, I'm going to have to make sure I stay on all the updates on the app also so that I can
Oh yeah,
all the new stuff you're going to be releasing in the next year.
100%. Yeah.
Well, I want to make sure also for everyone joining the show to where for the website and for the social media and everything for ToneWood amps, because certainly you mentioned, all of the different, companies and everything else where they can buy them, but talking about your website and for Facebook and social media for ToneWood amps for the entire community, Ofer, where do they need to go?
They just need to look for ToneWood Amp. If it's Facebook, if it's Instagram, if it's YouTube, it's all under the ToneWood Amp channel or ToneWoodAmp.com. Easy.
It's easy, and it's as easy as putting a ToneWood Amp2 on your guitar.
That's correct. Nice.
Ofer Webman, thank you so much for joining the show. I can't wait to see you on your next visit to Nashville or when we connect at...
It's very soon, Eric. It's the cast show.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, we got to connect. We got to have some hot chicken while you're here.
I'm for the chicken.
Thank you for joining the show.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining the Gear Gab Podcast with Eric Dahl. Subscribe to our weekly conversations on your favorite platform. And if you like what you hear, don't forget to leave us a review. Follow us on social media at Gear Gab Podcast. You'll never know who our next guest will be.